All right, welcome back from that report. Now, inflationary pressures from energy and raw material prices that have been soaring were cited by the Stanbic IBTC report as a main factor behind continuing difficulties. Businesses reported their employment levels declined as they attempted to adjust the new higher cost of doing business. Business activity contracted for the fifth straight month as weak demand and an inflationary environment took their toll. But the report said some sectors such as agriculture and manufacturing did see light improvement as output increased. However, wholesale and retail and services sectors continued to decline. These data symbolizes sectoral divergence indicating by how much million or inflation rather is uneven per industry. Now, international finance and economic analyst Mukhtar Mohammed joins me now as we turn our attention on these issues and how they are impacting on businesses as a whole, specifically the manufacturing and, of course, the much talked about taxation and VAT sharing. Thanks for joining me, Mukhtar, on Business Insight.
Thank you for having me, Justin.
All right. Let's start with the PMI that was below 50. There's a whole lot happening, and inflation has been on for a while, and businesses are complaining, manufacturers are lamenting, and right now they are blaming hostile policies, by the government for subdued growth in the manufacturing industry. I'm sure you saw the PMI report for November. What were your thoughts, really?
Well, not surprising. When it comes to economic report these days, we are not surprised what we see. You just said the hostile environment due to macroeconomic policies and also monetary policies. If you look at the macroeconomic policy in terms of import rates through the custom and excise, you realize that it's not really helping the manufacturers because they're not giving them a steady, stable exchange rate to import goods. So you're not surprised when you look at the monetary policy side in terms of hike in interest rate that make high cost of funding for expansion. Also, that is not surprising. So definitely the report doesn't surprise a lot of people, but what we need to look at is a way out of this because we keep on turning such reports month in, month out, quarterly and yearly. We need to find other ways to address these challenges. But to say whether the report was come as a surprise, I don't think it comes as a surprise, even to the manufacturers, because these are issues that they are dealing with, and they are still dealing with it. But maybe with time we begin to get the magnitude will reduce when we begin to maintain stability. But for now, what we have is a corridor of stability between some particular rates. So it's not really helping the manufacturing sectors yet.
Okay, but specifically talking about the manufacturing, let's address one issue that was key there, which is that of raw materials. How do we tackle this issue of raw materials for manufacturing? Although some of them here are produced locally, but then we still have a challenge in terms of cost and the impact it has on manufacturing generally.
Well, I think we can tackle those issues again when you look at cost of production in manufacturing, even if they are sourced locally. The cost of production is still very, very high locally also. We're talking about high cost of energy, talking about high cost of transportation, we're talking about high cost of also in the high cost of insecurity. And also these are hampering some of them getting some of these materials across board. So definitely, yes, that is a big challenge. But again, high cost also is part of it, even if they are sourced locally. So there's still a lot of work to be done. If we really have to make headway in it, then we have to look at the high cost of doing business in Nigeria. In terms of this manufacturing, you're talking about high cost of importation of some of these materials, even those that are sold locally. The machineries that are used to convert them are not sold locally because we don't have a vibrant steel sector in Nigeria. So that are part of the challenges that the manufacturing are dealing with. But like I said, the major cause when you see that even if these sources are sold, the material are sold locally, what is largely driving this high cost has to do with high energy costs, high cost of transportation, and insecurity.
Okay, aside from the issues that you've mentioned, insecurity, high energy cost, forex, and all of that, another issue that impacted on the PMI for November was that of unemployment, high unemployment. With all of that combined, it suppressed the PMI for November. Unemployment has been an issue for the country for quite some time right now, and even right now that people are even trying to find it difficult to even get food in their stomachs and get regular household items for their daily needs. What do we do about this high unemployment? Because one cannot afford not to work this time around with all of the situations in the country. Mukhtar.
Justin, you see, the problem is that this unemployment contradicts what the government told us in the Nigerian Bureau of
They always tell
Statistics
us
that said
something
that
different. Yes.
more Nigerians are employed. I said it that time on your program. I
Yes.
said, what are the parameters they are using? They say hourly, and if you work 1 hour in a week, and what is the payment in terms of 1 hour in a week? So how much are they paying? It's not like foreign. It's not like in a foreign developed economy whereby you see if you work 1 hour in a week, then you earn decent wages. But here, if you work 1 hour in a week, and how much is it going to be? How much are you being paid? So that's why we say we fought that unemployment data that was brought in by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. So now this is a true reflection, because again, in a place whereby the industries are not growing, especially the manufacturing sector, which is the key driver of employment, are not moving, and then here we are saying that you work in a day, 1 hour in a day, that you are considered employed. So I'm not surprised with what we have just seen. Unemployment has been a time bomb, like you have said, that been with us like decades upon decade upon decade, and most government are not yet ready to deal with the issues, because you need to do a very strong political way. You have to start from the civil service. You have to also also to empower the private sector, whereby private sector is still struggling to meet up its demand. Then you are not saying they should employ. And a lot of foreign companies are leaving Nigeria. And that also, and when they are not leaving, local companies are shutting down. That is increasing the unemployment market rate in the market. And that again is largely driven by government policy, like I said before now. So there's still a lot of work to be done. If you want to reduce employment, unemployment, then you need to also begin to see how you can empower the private sector, and how you can also look at the public sector and begin to look at years of service for those that are supposed to leave, have to leave, to create room to bring in more Nigerians that will be more entrepreneur, that will blow, that will take some of this business to the next level. Just before we came in, you were doing a report on artificial intelligence. How much of our private and public sectors are into artificial intelligence? Because there were no room for that. So you need to begin to employ, and you need to write employ now, then write size, then write employ. Those are part of what you do to reduce the gap of unemployment. But what we see today is that a lot of companies are leaving, and a lot of people are losing their job, and government seems not to know what to do.
Indeed, the government seems not to know what to do, because these issues have been recurring over time. But let's talk about the big elephant in the room, as it were. That has been like major discourse for the past weeks now, even months. Tax reforms, Mukhtar. It used to be revenue, how did they used to call it back in the day? Resource allocation. Now it's about VAT sharing.
Resource control.
Resource control. You took the one. But now it's VAT sharing. There's been so much talk about this tax reform bills. I've had a discussion on that several times on the show. There was a town hall meeting not too long ago, meetings upon meetings. Some people aggrieved. What is the issue? How come there's so much ado about VAT sharing? Why is it becoming political when it's supposed to be an economic issue?
Because it's trying to address injustice.
Aha.
The politicians strive on injustice.
Aha.
And again, they're trying to address injustice, as far as I'm concerned. This one, I've been saying it in your program, that the tax reform panel is one of the best panels that ever been constituted by President Bola Tinubu. Now you're looking at that, and you're looking at how this will help grow one of the most vibrant sector in the Nigeria economy, the SMEs, the small and medium steam sector. And nobody's looking at that. The governors are now politicizing it by looking at sharing formula. And you're looking at some state in terms of population should be consuming more. A state like Kano should not be crying foul if people are in power, because Kano State, based on the National Population Commission census, seems to have more people. But what happens is that those more people in Kano try to drive them to Lagos or go to Port Harcourt, where they can be gainfully find employment, and they will consume in that state. So I think the tax reform bill is all about to address injustice. You can't be what I say, you can't sow where you did not, you can't reap where you did not sow. A lot of them now, when you look at this value added tax, if you look at some part of Nigeria, they don't accept alcoholic drink, but they collect value added tax from alcoholic drink. So all these are part of, it's not called tax. That's one thing people are not looking at. It's called value added tax. What value are you adding to a business to make it strive?
Yeah.
Then you begin to enter. And how much are you empowering your people? This is all about empowerment. It's all about the downtrodden. If your economy have to grow, you have to empower your people to be able to consume. Because Nigeria is a consumer-driven economy. So you need to empower your people. So the challenge we have with the governors in the northern states complaining because their people are not empowered to consume. So that will reduce their value-added tax. Instead of them to begin to look at how to empower their people to consume. Yes, there's a challenge in that tax bill because when you say duties on food item is free.
Yes.
And you know, some of these states, in the northern state, they are like the food basket. So they need to find a level ground in that area. And if you don't find that level ground, you know what will happen? That these governors will impose taxes on this household item. Yeah. And that will now drive cost of living in some of these states that this household food item will be brought into. I think government should look at it holistically, but there must be justice and fairness. And that is what I think it has not been before. But in addressing justice and fairness, government also have to look at that value-added tax as regard to agriculture, especially for those states that are providing high agricultural output to Nigerians. Government need to find a balance on how to reward them for what they are doing.
But Mukhtar, is it like the clauses are not so explicit or they are contradictory? Because I don't think some people have actually digested that particular bill. Because you know, some of the arguments that you hear, you wonder if they've actually gone through that tax reform bill. Because at the end of the day, most of the reforms there are really subjected to help even the small businesses and, of course, even low-income earners. But then it's just...
big companies. Big companies, because they are reducing company income tax from 30% to 25%. 5% can be used to expand those business and create more employment. They are good. I think what we have seen is that the president media team too have not acted very well, despite that he has about 13 media advisors. So they also, you see, in politics, you know, they said in local palace, now Facebook police station are in the win case. So now the government is in the defensive because they did not come out on time. So the governors are now taking that. Remember, I started from the 19 northern states with the emirs of this traditional rulers of this 19 northern states. Then moved to the government forum. In all of this, the president was silent, and even when he was supposed to strike through the National Assembly, when they said, "Oh, withdraw the bill," he refused. Which I supported him at that time. The bill was in the National Assembly. All he needs to do is to call up for negotiation. But again, we are where we are today because we look for political solution to all of our problems. If they have allowed the Supreme Court to give judgment in the issue that was brought by Rivers State, then Winston Wike as the governor, and Lagos State joining them, by now we wouldn't have having this issue because judgment would have gone out and you cannot overturn the judgment of the Supreme Court. But they all opted out for political solution, and that is why we are where we are today. So for me, I think we've lost a chance to correct that right, but now, unfortunately, with the kind of noise and what's happening, if you're a student of history in Nigeria, this bill might just not be what we thought it would be because we'll begin to see political settlement to it, especially when there's an election coming up very soon.
All right, I just hope that all players and all stakeholders would actually just key into this because at the end of the day, it is something that is in the interest of all Nigerians. I must say a very big thank you to you, Mukhtar, for your time on the show for today. We do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Justin. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's as much as we have time for on Business Insights for today. We'll return again same time next time. My name is Justin Akadonye. Bye for now.